Sometimes you're going to take a summer vacation and you can't leave mom or dad at home. They have to come with you. Then what do you do? It's a little bit tricky.
Once they are in a situation where they don't travel as well as they used to, but they still want to come along, it can be a little hard. And I think probably planning ahead is going to be probably one of the most important things you can do. Jennifer Prescott is joining us today from Blue Water Homecare and Hospice. Thanks so much, Jennifer, for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
There probably are times where our aging parents, maybe they don't get around as well as they used to, but they're still mentally really cognizant. And so they want to go on vacation with you, or maybe they might have some memory challenges and they still want to come with you. So I think that, would you agree that sort of planning ahead is going to be the first thing you're going to really want to focus on?
Absolutely. And I think, it's important as family members to know that, we are truly creating memories with our loved ones, and they can be really positive. And it's also an opportunity for our kids to see how we are interacting with our older generation as well, so that they'll encourage, hopefully, when we're older, to take us on vacation as well.
Sure.
I feel like in some ways you need to search your memory banks and remember when you had a little toddler, when you took them on vacation, because in some ways it's very similar, isn't it?
It sure is. I think it's definitely more challenging, just like having a toddler or an infant, you're carrying all those things. I mean, it's not much different when you're traveling with a senior that has some special needs. One of the things my mother-in-law, so every year we go to Fort Worth, and that's when we do for our vacation that we do during the winter time. And we see family, it's for Thanksgiving, and it's all the families get together, and it's sort of the one time of year where we're all together. And gosh, in Texas, the food's amazing. So when we moved here, I couldn't believe how great the food is. I mean, the barbecue is amazing. So I really look forward to these vacations. And so, one of the things you have to think about is when people have, Alzheimer's, dementia, memory issues, you may need to be traveling on a plane. And so one of those things that I think one of the first things that you need to think about is planning ahead. And one of those things is that, having a card in your wallet and a card in their wallet. So if there's somebody who has memory issues, you need to keep a hold. You may give them their own wallet, but maybe you do a copy of their ID. Do not give someone that has dementia their ID.
Good tip.
Yeah.
So take a copy of it, keep a copy at home, and keep the original in your wallet. That is probably one of the most important things that you need to do, keeping their driver's license. Also making sure that you have a list of all of their medications with you. So we'll talk about the paper stuff. The medications are really important. If you're going a far distance, I would recommend having copies of their advance directives. Because you never know. And if something were to happen to you, you want to make sure that you have all of your, ducks in a row. Also a situation where you're making copies of boarding passes and those kind of things. And because you'll be a little flustered, you won't be quite on your game. And so making little copies of things, and now everything's on your phone anyway, the boarding passes. So that does make it a little bit easier. I don't know if you're familiar. I know that both of you, I think, have parents that have memory issues. Do you ever carry the little cards that say, my name is, not you, but I say, hi, my name is Jennifer and I have Alzheimer's disease. Please be patient with me. And so if you have the loved one carry a little card, you can even do an index card. And you can also carry for yourself, so that if you're maybe needing some help at the ticket counter, or maybe they're acting a little bizarre, it would be important to hand them something like that.
Okay, like a little code. Without having to say it out loud in front of them.
Exactly. It's just, it's being respectful to them. You can hand it to a TSA agent, which is really helpful. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there's a program with the TSA, and it's called a TSA Cares program. So within 72 hours of you actually going on your trip, you can actually call the TSA and let them know you need some assistance to security and through security. And so a lot of people aren't aware of that. That's a free option. And then you can also contact your airline as well, and they can help you. And most people are familiar with that, but it's a new thing for me to learn about the TSA opportunity, and there's no cost to that. So it's a really
That's a great tip. Yeah, great
and
tip.
then they'll pop you right through, and you don't have to stand up, in that crazy machine, because that's very overwhelming for someone who has memory disorder. Very overwhelming.
Sure. Do you think that, depending on the distance, obviously, sometimes you don't have an option except to fly, but is it easier for a person with memory issues to travel by plane than by car if it was going to be an all-day car ride? Or does it just depend on the person, really?
I think it depends on the person. I'll be honest with you. We just recently, last week, my husband and I we were traveling, we went to Colorado, and it was easy peasy in Austin. But when we were in Denver, coming back here, I mean, our first flight was canceled. We had to rebook it. And the line, even at 4 o'clock in the morning, was super long.
Okay.
Wow.
So I can't imagine being with someone that has cognitive defects or functional defects at 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, that would be really challenging. So
Okay.
I think you have to kind of balance whatever's right for the situation, but you definitely need to make sure that you have like snacks. You have like, that's really important. Have like a refillable water bottle.
Mhm.
That's important as well, because a lot of seniors get dehydrated and they have an increased risk of urinary tract infections.
Yeah.
Sure.
Again, very similar to traveling with kids, small
Right.
children.
Right. Okay.
toddlers,
So
stuff like that.
if you're flying, then you've shared some great tips for being able to talk to the airline ahead of time, make sure they're prepared, getting through TSA, getting through security. That's really super helpful. Anything else if you're flying that we should, and all the snacks and the water and all of that, anything else if you're
just
flying?
like kiddos, right?
Yeah.
I think it's important. So pretty common sense, but again, we can all be flustered. I think medications, we need to make sure that you're carrying a full change of clothes or two. Any personal like incontinence, items need to be brought as well. I would recommend bringing some gloves as well, because they may have anxiety and they may have an accident. And, it's just easier to kind of deal with it, maybe in a family bathroom. If you've got some gloves on, even though it's your family member, it still can be messy. So it's just something to think about. Bring wipes for the plane, hand sanitizer, of course. Now that we're traveling, I can tell you that masks are not mandatory at this point. As of right now, things may change. One never knows. And I would recommend, bringing like another really important thing is bring a current photo of your loved one, a current photo. And keep that in your wallet, because it is possible that they may wander off. Or they may be early stage dementia and they just get confused, and then you're scared to death. But if you have the card inside their wallet, you have a copy of their ID, and then you have a picture, you can show that to an agent and they can start looking for your family member. They get
great
lost.
tips. Yeah, great tips.
Very good tips. Now, when we get there, wherever our destination is, if mom or dad are with us, there may be a time when, especially if it's just the three of us, okay, Kim and I want to go out by ourselves. Is there a way to get things set up ahead of time so that there is a respite or someplace,
or a caregiver,
just for them to watch them for a few hours or half the day or a day while we're, decide to go on a journey somewhere? But how do we do that ahead of time? How do we find out about those places?
So I think a couple different things. The first thing would be, the easiest would be, ask your family members. If you're going to visit family members, ask, if somebody would, be able to, hang out with mom or dad for 4 or 6 hours so you can take some time away. So I think that's really important. You can also utilize an agency. And now that, now everything's on Zoom and we're able to communicate effectively, via the internet and just, video conferencing, you could set things up ahead of time. Many agencies, we've taken care of clients that are just coming for a short term. They're going to be coming for a few days and they might need 8 hours a day, or they need 4 hours a day, or whatever it is. You can do an agency will help with that. Unfortunately, it's not like the pop-in daycare centers. You can't really do that, unfortunately. But, maybe it's a situation that you decide to go on a trip on a cruise or something. And it's so there's, your family member may be okay. Maybe they want to hang out with the grandkids a little bit or something like that, just so that they're safe. But it is important, to have some time away if possible. Because we all know sometimes that, I don't know about you, but sometimes vacations with family doesn't necessarily feel like vacation. So
when you say ahead of time, how far ahead of time? Do we need to do it a week ahead of time, a month ahead of time? Oh my gosh, we're going to go someplace at Christmas and it's July right now, so we need to reserve something now. How far ahead of time do you need to start that plan of action?
I think with the pandemic, I think, and unfortunately we're still living it, and there's definitely a caregiver shortage. If you're looking for an agency, I would say 90 days would be amazing. 60 days would be great.
Okay.
30 days is okay.
Yeah.
I think anything sooner than that, because a lot of agencies, if you're looking for an agency, won't really want to take a client just for 3 days. It's not really worth their time.
Yeah.
But, if you call them ahead of time and, people are, and ask to speak to the manager, and they're pretty reasonable. Like, they understand. Tell them your story and just say, hey, look, I'm giving you 60 days notice. Could you help us out for 3 days? It's about 24 hours of care. And 9 times out of 10, those agencies will take you on. And you can do most of the paperwork and everything remotely, kind of like just like we're talking now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't wait till the day before.
That's right. Yes. Don't wait till the last minute. One of the things that I keep thinking about with traveling is if I were to take my mom on a trip, is that, on trips that we've gone on in the past, there were things that we could do. And I would think that some of it is also planning while you're planning ahead, but also sort of setting expectations for yourself and for maybe for them too, but really for us to know, this may be different than the trip that we took a couple of years ago. And so how do you, kind of process that, I think?
I think it's kind of like with your mindset, it's sort of setting the expectations that maybe you're lowering the bar a little bit. Maybe you're not, maybe mom's used to getting out and about, and she's, 8-12 hours a day. She's, walking 5 miles on the beach, and maybe she's sitting on the beach, and maybe you're going to sit on the beach with her, and maybe you're going to grab some seashells or something like that. And you're going to talk about the shells. Maybe you're going to bring the seashells back and you're going to paint the seashells or something like that. Maybe the activity is going to be, a little different, but you're still spending that quality time together. But I think if you're trying to pack your vacation and all these family members are trying to, come to see your loved one, you may want to sort of like temper that and have, one person come at a time, depending on your situation. Now, some family members are like happy and thrilled. Maybe it's a big giant
bring them on,
and they're like, hey, everybody, come on, and let's make food together and all of that. And they're reverting back. If they've got memory issues, they remember about how to make, this special meal or whatever. So it's really depends on your situation. But I think that lowering your own expectations and sort of making sure that you take care of yourself, you're sleeping well, you can bring. I got to tell you, I think I'm getting old, but I just went, last week, and I brought my big old blanket. I would have brought my pillows with me. Travis and I were dying because everybody likes these like fluffy pillows, and I feel like we need like the harder foam pillows. So I'm joking aside, but if you don't sleep,
right,
you're not a nice person.
Right.
That's me.
Right.
So kind of planning ahead for that and making sure you can plan for like airline delays, you want to make sure that you're not just bringing 7 days of meds for your family member.
Right.
You're planning, you have 14 days if possible.
Just in case. Yeah. Just in
case. Again, so similar to traveling with the kids, because I think for most people, at least was for us, traveling with our toddlers was great, but it was a lot better as they got older and were able to take care of themselves, so to speak. And it's the same thing here, where you just got to set those expectations.
And I would imagine too, that especially if, my mom just doesn't move quite as fast as she used to, so it's having to be patient, plan ahead, making sure that you allow enough time, because, I think, okay, we can get to the gate in, 5 minutes, and we're just not moving quite that fast. So I would imagine just really keeping those things in mind, as well as not, depending on, like you mentioned, either packing the day with just, we're going to go, sightsee all day, or do we need to build in some rest and things like that. So just knowing that it might be different than previous vacations with your parents doesn't mean that's a bad thing. It just means it's a little different. Yeah.
Well, sure. And also one of the things I was thinking about is equipment. So, your family member might be okay now walking around, but they might not be okay standing for 90 minutes. Yeah. So think about that. You may need to, you can go to, your local in Austin, Age of Central Texas. They have great, a lending library where you can, you can borrow a walker, you can borrow a wheelchair. You have a friend that might have a walker or wheelchair. Like, think about sort of worst case scenario. I know when you're in an airport, it's not so hard because they tend to have wheelchairs, but the truth of the matter is, like, if you're going to travel during the summertime, I mean, it's crazy town out there. You may be in a situation where you might run into a problem.
Yeah. So just really be planning ahead and just think through, just as you mentioned, just like when we were with With children, do I have the stroller? Do I have the car seat? Do I have the things to keep them entertained?
I'm getting flashbacks of traveling with all those
yes,
things.
Yeah.
And meals too. So making sure that you're not eating a bunch of junk food.
Right.
So it's easy to like go through like a drive-through or something when you get somewhere. So try to be intentional, like maybe plan some meals ahead of time. You can order meals to be delivered. You can also, have Instacart deliver food that you've prepared. If you're traveling somewhere by vehicle, you could also, pre-plan. We used to do it when we had kids. We have kids now, but we would make big thing of lasagna or something. So I knew the first night was already, we make a big salad or whatever, but trying to keep as normalcy as possible because like constipation is an issue for seniors as well. Okay. And so those are things that you want to make sure that you're having fruits and vegetables and you're not giving them a bunch of junk food because you're exhausted and, that's all you can handle.
Yeah.
Great suggestions, Jennifer. I'm ready to go right now. Let's travel somewhere.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely thinking back to the days when you had children and thinking of all the things that you needed to pre-plan. But I love some of the ideas that she shared about TSA and being able to get through security faster. And just, you still want to be able to make those memories, just knowing that it might look a little different than it has in years past.
It's so similar, but you can still have a good time. We have a good time here on Parenting Aging Parents. Let us know if you have any suggestions at all.